What's going on, guys? PX Cam back in with a brand new video. We are here for what is honestly the most draining daily race combinations I have ever raced on this game, and that is Group 2 cars around Brands Hatch. Now, the reason why this track is just so draining with these cars is that you have a very fast car running around a small narrow track, and you can lose a lot here. You can lose your sanity, you can lose your will to keep racing, and you could even lose the win just by making a simple mistake and accidentally touching that grass, or worse, touching the dirt gravel. So we're gonna see what we can do here now as we head into turn number 1, right behind the Mexican, starting off in 6th place. We find our way into Druids, making sure that we just don't go too wide or just get too happy with the throttle. Coming off of some of these corners, they could just easily lose the rear. That's actually going to be a really good strategy for this race, is go a tad bit wide off of turn number 3, and we get very lucky. A lot of people don't get that lucky coming off of turn number 3 and heading that wide, just because of the nature of the car. Once you touch that grass, you can easily just lose it and bin it coming off of that 3rd corner, as the Mexican ahead of us almost loses it himself. So that's basically going to be the theme of the race. It's just going to be a lot of people almost losing it or losing it altogether on some of these corners, just because, again, you just don't have enough breathing room on this track. I mean, like I said, you go a tad bit wide, you touch that grass, you touch that dirt, and once you step on the throttle, the rears just light up and they just don't grip anything, and it's just an easy combination to spin out. And again, going back to just the theme and the strategy of this race, that's actually one thing you want to do, as this is a one-stop race or even a no-stop race. I've seen some people do the no-stop, but you have to be very good on saving tires. And when I say very good, I mean you have to be on it. You have to make sure that you're not pushing too hard. You got to make sure that you're not lighting up the rears, and the best way to do that is to shift up to a higher gear and just slowly getting back onto the throttle. It might cost you a tenth here and there on some of the corners, just because you're not able to get on the power strong enough, but it will save a lot of time in the long run, as we lose a Mexican right ahead of us. So not sure exactly what happened to him. It looks like you either lost connection or just had to go, probably had dinner or something like that, not sure, but that's good for us, because now we find ourselves up into 5th place. And not only that, we now have free open racetrack. We don't have to race against anybody, which is great for our tires. We just focus on making sure that our rears don't get too badly worn, and also just making sure that we hit all our marks. And like I said, we just have this nice little gap between us and 6th. And not only that, we're starting to catch up to 4th place of GT7 GTR, which is Eric. If you guys don't know him, he's a really cool streamer that does streaming on YouTube. But you can see right here, we are running close to our fastest lap here, as we are about a tenth, 2 tenths faster than what we did on lap number 3. And that is actually really good, because like I said, right now I'm saving tires, but I'm just in some type of form where I'm just gaining a lot of time as we go almost a tenth faster than our fastest lap. We're already into lap number 5, towards the end of our tire life. So this is actually a really good sign for us. If we can continue doing what we're doing, we can start catching up to these guys up ahead. As you can see already, we have just closed the gap to Eric right ahead of us in 4th. And not only that, we're starting to again put in some quick sector times here, as we are now up a tenth off of our fastest lap time. But heading to the left corner, we just have to brake a tad bit earlier and go slower into that corner, since we now have caught the back of Eric. And this is the struggling part of this racetrack. So you do have fast cars around here. Just going around by yourself, it's already difficult as it is. But once you get stuck behind a car, the dirty air is just so strong on this track. Heading into some of these corners, you're going into it very quickly. They're like medium and fast speed corners that the dirty air just affects the downforce that you have, and it causes you to get a lot of understeer on some of these corners, or even on the exit. It's just sometimes gets you a little bit of snap oversteer, and it's just a very weird sensation that you have once you have dirty air ahead of you and you have to follow a car. And that's what kind of leads to a lot of worn tire, because you're just either getting a lot of oversteer on the exit or just getting a ton of understeer in the middle of the corner, and it's just a lot to handle. As you can see right here, we caught up to Eric. You know, it was not that it actually wasn't that difficult to catch up to him, but now just trying to complete the pass, that is where we're just struggling on. And you can see heading into the right corner, we almost lose right there as we get very, very slippery off of the exit, and it's just been the name of the game. But lap number 7 is the lap that we're on right now. You can see Eric is getting a very, very tail happy on some of these exits. But we're going to come into the pits this lap. You can see on the bottom left that the left rear tires are just absolutely destroyed. So we're going to come into the pits. A couple of the leaders come into the pits, but so does Eric and us. And we actually ghosted inside of him. So very interesting that it allowed us to do that into the pits. But I'm kind of glad it did, because if not, we would have immediately just rammed the rear of Eric. And come out right behind him. This is not what we wanted to happen, because now that we're stuck right behind him again, we're just going to be caught up in that dirty air. But we do have maybe some silver lining ahead of us, as the 4th and 5th did not come into the pits. And so once we catch up to them, they might be able to slow down GTR here and allow us to catch up to him, and maybe just get him into a weird position where we can just send it for an overtake, and probably can get the overtake done. But into the middle sector of this 8th lap of our outlap, and we just did not have the best outlap. We just went a tad bit wide on some of the corners and just destroyed our pace right there, as we lost about almost an entire second away from GTR. And heading into Druids right here, you can see he goes into the inside, goes for the overtake on the Brazilian, and the Brazilian gives him plenty of space, and that is not what we wanted. We wanted them to fight with each other so that we can easily catch up to them, and like I said, just maybe catch Eric off guard and go for an overtake. But that plan is long gone now, so we now have to catch up to the Brazilian and try to get around him, which might be a very, very difficult task, although he does have very, very old tires. Now, the reason why it's going to be a difficult task, again, just comes down to that dirty air. And like I said, if you are able to save the tires and make sure that you don't light up the rears and you go into some of these corners as smooth as possible, you can make this race on a no stop. But you can see right here that the Brazilian is struggling a lot as he comes out of that corner, almost loses it, but was able to manage to keep it on the track, which is great for him, but very, very bad for us, as we just almost run into the rear of him. And Rodrigo right ahead of us in 5th comes into the pits. And now we set our sights to try to get around FANATEC ahead of us, and we just could not get around him. We were going into the inside, trying to take a little peek into the first corner. Might be a little bit optimistic, but just could not get the overtake done, as we now head into Druids. And this is another few corners that we have to get stuck behind the Brazilian, as now GTR just has free open track, free open air, and this is not what we need right here. We need to get around FANATEC as soon as possible, because he is going to cost us about half a second, maybe even a second each lap that we're right behind him. So this might be our best possibility to go make an overtake, as we get down to this very long straight, heading to the fast right corner. Take a little peek onto the inside, but just a tad bit too far back. I didn't want to go for the most desperate lunge ever into some of these corners, because I didn't want to take him out or anything like that. I wanted to get around him cleanly. But we're heading to this corner last lap where he just had a ton of trouble, ran very, very wide and almost lost it. And luckily this time he was able to keep it on the track, but like I said, we're just kind of stuck behind him now as we jump into lap number 11. So into the first corner once again, we take a little peek onto the inside, almost make contact with him, but heading to Druids, we're on the inside now, side by side into the corner. He gives us plenty of space here, try to brake as late as we can, and we're able to now make the overtake, as we have 4 laps here to try to regain all the lost ground on GTR ahead of us. And it's going to be a very, very difficult task to do, as we are about 1.9 seconds right behind him. So each and every second we're going to have to close the gap by at least 4/10, and it might be possible here as we now jump into lap number 12. So into lap number 12, we are actually doing what we said we needed to do, and actually closing that gap. It is now down to 1.3 seconds, and you can see it. We are putting in flyers here. We are about 2/10 up of our fastest lap time now as we head into this fast right corner. And this last 2 sectors right here, this has been our sweet spot. We have gained a ton of time on these last 2 sectors on Eric right ahead of us, and this is actually a spot where we gain about maybe 3 or 4 tenths. So we're gonna see if we can do that here as we head into the left corner. And you can see fastest lap time right there, almost half a second up. So we're about to hit the 115s, but not only that, now the gap is less than a second on Eric, and we still have about 3 laps left. So we're catching up to him, which is very, very great. But how is that costing us on tire wear? So that was the one thing I was worried about, because although we are catching up to him and putting him very, very fast, quick lap times, you know, we might be abusing these tires more than what we need to. And by the time we catch up to him and it's down to the last lap, it might be a tad bit difficult to try to make the overtake, as we're not going to have that same grip that we had in the beginning of the stint. But as we come out of the corner, you can see now we are in that magical slipstream range of 3/4 of a second, and we are now down to half a second on him, as we now have 2 laps left heading into Druid. So 2 more times into Druids here, we get a very, very good corner, and you can see now that the gap is basically non-existent. We are now on his rear and heading to the slow left-hander. We've gained a lot of time here as he goes a tad bit wide. Now starting to feel the pressure of us getting closer to him, but just not good enough right now, as again the rears are just so destroyed here, since we were just pushing and pushing these last 3 laps, that we might not have enough to make the overtake on him. And this might be the best that we can do for this race, as we just have to hope for him to make a huge mistake, or just find some pace somewhere around here and hope that his tires are destroyed as well, as we get very, very loose off of the right-hander. Just took it a tad bit too narrow on the entrance, and I've upset the car a lot now as we head into the final lap. So just coming out of Druids, we were able to close the gap a tad bit more. We're about 6 tenths now, but we are running out of time. We only have half a lap left to make this overtake, and luckily for us, for now, we're in the slip right here as we are catching them slowly but surely. Just close it by a tenth. Can we keep it by about 3 tenths heading into this fast right-hander? And yes, we do. So we're able to keep it down now to 3 tenths. Gap is closing here as we are now to our favorite sector. We were able to gain a ton of time here on Eric the entirety of the race, but can we keep up with him now with these very, very worn tires? Going to the right corner, almost lose. You can see that we're just wheeling this car, making sure that we're keeping it on the track, pushing as much as we can. And now as we head into the final corner, we need a miracle here to happen, but the miracle does not come to us, and we were able to catch up to him, but we just could not seal the deal. And we come home in 5th place position, right behind Eric here in the ride bridge. So a very, very fun race. We were able to just push the entirety of the time, and we got very, very lucky, as this was one of my earlier races where we were pushing and just trying to catch up to somebody, and this was the result here. As we come into Druid off of the corner, we just get on the power a tad bit too strong and get onto the rumble strip, lose the back end, head straight into the wall, and that actually costed us the podium for that race. So you can see it could just go from 0 to 100 on this racetrack, as you can easily be fighting for the podium or even for the win and just lose it and bin it in the matter of a second, and just lose that podium or lose that win, or even just lose your sanity in general, as you just find yourself into the shadow realm and just heading off into some of the barriers. So that's just kind of been the name of the game of this combination. But let me know how you guys are enjoying this week in the comments down below. Like I said, I'm enjoying this week. I think it's a really, really good week of combinations, and I can't wait to get back onto GT Sport and do some more races. But thank you again for watching the video. If you guys really enjoyed it, feel free to hit that like button and the subscribe button. It really helps out the channel when you guys do so. And since you guys made it all the way to the end, hope you guys really enjoyed it. And if you guys did, hope to catch you guys on the next one. Peace.